Have you ever caught yourself whispering to no one, just to fill the silence? What if I told you someone, or something, might be whispering back? This isn't a ghost story. It's a case buried deep in the police archives of Connecticut, labeled Unsolved. But the real reason it was buried? No one wanted to believe what the evidence suggested. This is the story of Daniel Reese, the man who proved you should never, ever talk to yourself at night. It started with something small, harmless, even. Daniel was a night shift security guard at a furniture warehouse. 8 hours of silence, broken only by the occasional sound of rats behind the walls. To keep himself sane, he developed a habit. He talked to himself. Simple things at first. Man, it's cold tonight. You really need to quit this job. That chair's been moved weird. Until one night, the replies started. At first, it was just an echo in his head. He assumed it was his imagination. The human brain, after all, hates silence. We fill it with noise, even if the noise isn't real. But then the replies became sentences. Sentences that didn't sound like him. You're not alone. I know what you did. Stop pretending. Daniel laughed it off, convinced it was just sleep deprivation. But something changed when he went home. He started hearing the voice at home too. At 2:17 a.m. every single night, he would hear it, faint like a breath on the back of his neck. Daniel, are you listening? He told himself it was stress, maybe even a mild psychosis, until one night, the voice said something that made him freeze. Check your phone. He hadn't touched his phone. It was face down on the kitchen table. Trembling, he flipped it over. There was a voice memo saved at 2:17 a.m., labeled you. Well, he played it. It was a recording of him whispering, but he had no memory of it. I see you. I know what you are. The next day, he deleted the file. Told himself he must have recorded it accidentally. But that night, another file appeared, and the next, and the next. By the end of the week, there were 7 recordings. All of them whispered in his own voice. All of them saying things he would never say. And then came the 8th recording. It wasn't his voice. It was a woman. Soft, almost sad. Please stop talking to yourself. He's listening through you. That's when Daniel started noticing things in his apartment. Items moved slightly out of place. His bedroom mirror, fogged over, even though he hadn't showered. A post-it note on his fridge that he swore he hadn't written. Stop answering. He installed cameras everywhere. And on March 8th, at exactly 2:17 a.m., he caught it. On the footage, Daniel is asleep. But at 2:17 a.m., his body sits up, his eyes still closed. He looks straight at the camera and whispers, I'm not alone. Then, something impossible happens. The reflection in the bedroom mirror moves, half a second before Daniel moves. As if the reflection is leading, and he is following. Daniel took the footage to the police. They dismissed him, said it was sleepwalking, stress. But one detective, Detective Marlowe, couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. So she ran a digital forensics check on Daniel's phone. What she found buried in the metadata made her blood run cold. The voice memos weren't just recordings. Each file contained hidden, corrupted image data. When the data was reconstructed, they formed a face. The same woman's face over and over again. Her eyes blurred, her mouth open as if screaming, but no sound. Marlowe dug deeper. She traced the voice to a missing persons case from 1998. A woman named Emily Carter, last seen at a psychiatric hospital. She was known for one disturbing behavior. She spoke to herself constantly, but according to the final reports, before Emily vanished, she told her therapist something chilling. At night, when I talk to myself, someone else talks back, and every night, they sound more like me. Emily disappeared 2 weeks later. Her case was never solved. Until now, when Marlowe confronted Daniel, he broke down. He admitted something he hadn't told anyone. For the past month, every time he stopped talking to himself, the voice stopped. But when he tried to sleep, he could feel her breathing in sync with him, like she was inside his skull. And then, the final proof. On the last night of surveillance, Marlowe and her team watched live footage from Daniel's apartment. At exactly 2:17 a.m., Daniel sat up, but his mouth wasn't moving. The whispers were coming from the mirror, and behind the whispering, faintly, there was a second voice. A man's voice. Marlowe enhanced the audio, slowed it down. It said, if you talk long enough, you will forget which one you are. That was the last recording, because the next day, Daniel was gone, his apartment untouched. Only one thing remained, a voice memo saved on his phone at 2:17 a.m. The file name was "You're Next," and when Marlo played it, it was her own voice, speaking words she had never said. "Stop talking to yourself. He's listening." Detective Marlo couldn't sleep after that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she heard her own voice whispering things she couldn't remember saying. The message left on Daniel's phone, "You're next," played her head like a loop. She convinced herself it was a prank, that Daniel staged everything and ran away. Until 3 nights later, at exactly 2:17 a.m., her own phone lit up. A voice memo. No sender, no notification, just a file named "You." She didn't want to press play, but she had to. When she listened, it was her voice, breathing heavily, whimpering, and then she said, "Stop looking. He's already inside." That's when Marlo did something most people wouldn't. She broke protocol. She went back to the psychiatric hospital where Emily Carter was last seen in 1998. But what she found wasn't in any official file. The hospital had shut down years ago, but buried in the basement records, there was an unfiled report written by Emily's therapist. One line stood out. "The entity doesn't haunt places. It haunts conversations." Marlo didn't understand until she read further. The therapist wrote that Emily believed in something called echo entities, beings that couldn't exist in the physical world, but could inhabit human thoughts through self-conversation. Every time you talk to yourself, you create a feedback loop. And if you keep doing it, night after night, the loop grows strong enough for something else to answer. Not a ghost, not a demon, something far older. Something that can only exist if you talk to yourself enough times to blur the line between your thoughts and theirs. The last page of the report had one handwritten warning. The moment you hear a reply, stop, or you'll never know if it's you speaking or them. Marlo realized she hadn't just been listening to Daniel. She had been responding. Every time she whispered to herself about the case in her car, at her desk, lying awake at night, she was opening the door wider, and that door was now open. Because the next night, she received not one, but 12 voice memos at 2:17 a.m., all in her own voice, saying things she never remembered saying. One of them was a direct conversation. Voice 1, "I'm scared." Voice 2, also her voice, "You should be. You've been talking to me this whole time." Marlo tried to warn the department, tried to explain, but when she played the recordings, they were blank. No sound, until she was alone. Then the whispers returned, and she realized something horrifying. It wasn't about Daniel or Emily. It wasn't even about her. It was about everyone. Because she checked the metadata of the last voice memo. It had been shared, forwarded to 3 random phone numbers. She traced them. One belonged to a night shift janitor, one to a student who suffered from insomnia, one to a single mother who worked late nights and talked to herself to stay awake. All 3 reported the same thing. They started hearing their own voice whispering things at night. And then they disappeared. No signs of forced entry. No messages. Only one thing left behind. Their phones. Each one containing a single file. Sent at exactly 2:17 a.m. The file name? You. Marlo finally understood. This wasn't a haunting. It was a contagion. A self-replicating entity that spread through self-talk. And by trying to solve Daniel's case, she had infected herself. She tried to stop talking to herself, tried to block every whisper, every thought. But it was too late, because the night before she resigned from the force, she recorded something without realizing. A memo on her phone, her voice. But when she played it back, it wasn't her voice anymore. It was flat, cold, inhuman. And it said, "Everyone talks to themselves eventually. That's how we spread." And here's the most chilling part. The real police file from 2004 shows an unsolved case in Connecticut, a man named Daniel Reese who disappeared mysteriously. The official reason? Mental breakdown. But the forensic report mentioned something odd. Multiple voice memos on victim's phone, all deleted themselves at exactly 2:17 a.m. This case was never reopened. And now, you've heard the story. You've heard my voice. But tell me, when was the last time you talked to yourself at night and answered back? Because now that you've listened to this, you've opened the door too.